Have you ever questioned the reality right before your eyes? Ever sensed there's something more beyond the surface of daily life? Do you wonder if your perception is just a shadow of the truth? What if the world you know is an illusion, concealing the true reality? If these questions haunt you as they haunt us, it's time to learn about Plato's Allegory of the Cave. This is Irrevelato, the place where the extraordinary lives and timeless wisdom of history's luminaries are unveiled. The Allegory of the Cave, presented in Book 7 of Plato's magnum opus, The Republic, is a riveting and eye-opening metaphor that touches on themes such as education, knowledge, reality, and human nature. Or, as Plato eloquently writes, it exposes the extent to which our nature can be either enlightened or unenlightened. It is the process that moves humans from becoming to being. The Allegory of the Cave crystallizes the essence of Plato's philosophy, particularly his theory of forms. It's also a fundamental cornerstone and a pivotal reference in both philosophical and educational discourse. For centuries, it has captivated and influenced innumerable minds, shaping the foundations of Western thought as we know it. Its impact also permeated contemporary culture, inspiring iconic movies such as The Matrix and The Truman Show, which depict the boundaries between perceived reality and hidden truths. The Allegory of the Cave unfolds as a dialogue between Socrates, Plato's beloved teacher and often main character, and Glaucon, Plato's brother, and also a student of Socrates. Socrates invites Glaucon to engage in an imagination exercise, which goes as follows. Imagine human beings living in an underground cave. Imagine that they have been living in this cave since their childhood. Imagine that their legs and necks are chained so they can't move their bodies or turn their heads around. A fire blazes above and behind them. There is also a low wall between them and the fire, similar to the screens used by puppeteers to hide behind while showing their puppets. Now picture men walking along this wall, carrying various objects such as vessels, statues, and animal figures made of wood, stone, and other materials. These objects appear over the top of the wall. The prisoners can't see any of the men or their objects. They can only see their shadows, or the shadows of one another projected by the fire on the opposite wall of the cave. Remember that they can't move their heads. The prisoners can only talk about shadows, and the names and words they use can only refer to shadows because shadows are the only things they know. If they hear a sound, echo, or voice coming from behind them, they would think that the source is a shadow because shadows are the only things they know. Their truths are nothing but shadows because shadows are the only things they know. Now imagine that one prisoner escapes from the cave. Imagine that he is finally free and can freely stand up and move his body, arms and feet and turn his head in all directions. Next, he tries to look toward the fire, but suddenly feels a sharp pain. The light hurts him because shadows were the only things he knew. Naturally, he would shift his gaze to something more comfortable for his eyes. And if someone pointed out that the objects passing between the low wall and the fire were more real than the shadows he had seen, he would initially refuse to believe it. And if someone told him that his shadows were an illusion and that he is now moving toward a truer reality, a clearer vision and a purer state of being, you can imagine how confused he would be. Suppose someone drags the prisoner outside the cave in the outside world and forces him to look at all the things the sun illuminates. Naturally, our prisoner is not able to see anything. His eyes hurt and he is in pain. But gradually, the prisoner gets accustomed to the outside world. First, he can only see shadows, but he starts seeing reflections of men and other objects in water, and then the objects and men themselves, and then the light of the moon and the stars in the sky. Finally, the prisoner can directly look at the sun, not just at reflections of it, but at the sun itself. He begins to understand that the sun is why we experience seasons and years as we do, and that everything exists because of the sun. Then he remembers the cave and how limited he and the other prisoners were. He remembers how they were giving out awards for those who could best predict the patterns of the shadows passing on the wall. He remembers how ridiculous everything was, Naturally, our prisoner must be happy that he escaped the cave and is now in the outside world and can enjoy the plants and trees and animals and skies and the sun. Do you think he would go back there to that miserable cave? Would you go back? Certainly not. But imagine he did return to the cave and started predicting shadows again with his old friends who never have seen anything else but shadows. His eyes will not be able to spot the shadows. He will have to get accustomed to the darkness once again. His fellow prisoners will think that the outside world made him crazy because he will start talking about everything that he has seen but will not be able to spot even a simple shadow. Everything that our enlightened prisoner experienced will sound like nonsense to them. They will say it is better not to even think of going out there. Some of them will even threaten to kill those who will try to take other prisoners outside of the cave, because shadows are the only things they know. You may wonder what all of this means. What is the message of the allegory of the cave? What does it try to tell us? What symbols did Plato use here? We are the prisoners, trapped in our ignorance and limited by our perceptions. The cave is the world of appearances and sense perception, a distorted version of the true reality. The chains are the constraints that prevent us from discovering deeper truths and becoming wiser, be it ignorance, societal rules or circumstances, or lack of education. The shadows represent the surface-level reality we perceive with our senses, the lies we foolishly believe, or the misconceptions and illusions that control our lives. The fire represents a false light or deceptive knowledge that creates shadows. It is a pseudo-enlightenment still trapped within the cave, producing only a limited and distorted understanding of reality. The prisoner who escapes is the philosopher, and his escape to the outside world symbolizes the ascent of his mind into the intellectual world, the world of forms or ideas, his path to enlightenment. His eyes hurt because attaining knowledge and understanding deeper truths is difficult and often painful. It is a struggle and a battle with oneself and the world. The outside world represents Plato's world of forms or ideas, the true reality. It is the realm of higher understanding and knowledge, where one can see things in their true nature, not just shadows or reflections. The sun symbolizes the ultimate source of truth and knowledge in Plato's philosophy, often called the form of the good or beauty. Just as the sun illuminates the physical world, the form of the good illuminates the intelligible world, allowing one to understand and perceive the true nature of reality. It is a blissful object of contemplation. But there is one more thing we need to talk about. The philosopher must descend back to the cave. The philosopher must descend back to the cave, even if he does not want to. The philosopher must go back and share his knowledge with others, despite the resistance, disbelief, mockery, disdain, or hostility he might face. Why? Because the philosopher has a duty toward people, to educate and enlighten them. Only this way can we all grow, evolve, and become a wiser society. Only this way can we leave a better world for our grandchildren and our grandchildren's grandchildren. The philosopher must cease to contemplate once in a while and face the evilness of men, the darkness, the fighting in courts of law, and the excesses surrounding him, and teach people the form of good, the form of justice, the form of temperance, and the form of courage, among other forms. The ability to learn already exists in all of us. Everyone can learn to be good, to be temperate, to be mannered, and to be the best versions of themselves. Everyone can become kings or queens. Everyone can live better lives, extraordinary lives, lives full of meaning, beauty, and truth. And once the unenlightened become enlightened, they must descend again to the world of shadows and drag others outside the cave, because we are all in this together. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed our video and want to see more content like this, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with friends who might be interested in these matters. Your support makes a difference and helps us keep creating content for you. If you're looking to contribute further, consider becoming a Patreon. Your support as a Patreon helps sustain the channel and may also give you access to exclusive content and perks. You can also support us by using the affiliate links in the video description. Every bit helps us continue delivering the quality content you deserve. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, keep loving wisdom.